Speaking of boring, it's basically going to be what, Clemson and Alabama in the national championship game for like the next 30 years.
Well,
so
tonight's night 4,
expand?
so yeah, for the next 6 we might as well. The SEC and the ACC are pretty comfortable with that. So sorry, Mountain West, not going to be happening for a few more years. But even still, did the committee get the top 4 rights? A professor at UCCS says maybe not. I'll share his answers next on News 5.
This is News 5 Sports with Grant Meach.
Just a few minutes ago, the national championship game kicked off at Levi's Stadium in Northern California. Alabama and Clemson meeting for the 4th time in the college football playoff title game. We know those two are the undisputed picks for the title game, but what about the Final Four at large? Well, this man has other thoughts about said four. I'm joined by Assistant Economics Professor at UCCS, Joe Craig, and he believes that Georgia, not Notre Dame, should have been in the Final Four. Joe, thanks for joining us here tonight. I really appreciate it. All right, so with the help of some other fellows at MIT, you developed an algorithm assigning points based on games scored and opponents' strength of schedule. Essentially, you're trying to make a better college football final. Is that fair to say?
That's definitely fair to say.
Okay, so why did you decide to do this?
Well, we were working on another project. We were trying to see how quarterbacks would do in the NFL. And because teams play such an unbalanced schedule in college football, we had to assign a way to rate defenses, offenses, and special teams for all the teams they played. And we realized as a byproduct of that, we basically had an up and running college football ranking system. And we thought, why not? You know, this is about the time of the year when everyone's thinking about it, and it seemed like a good idea.
Alabama and Clemson are in your top 2. Oklahoma is 4, but you had Georgia in at 3, and the other teams vary wildly. And I'm talking about some wild swings in there.
You are.
How do we come up with these wild swings that you came up with?
Well, you know, we're looking at who the teams played and who the teams beat. So a lot of teams may have won quite a few games, but they weren't winning them very impressively. And I know people say that winning's winning and it's not about margin of victory. Yeah. But turns out it really is. So it really, really is.
Okay, so we put up a graphic. We made up a graphic that has your 6 through 10 graphics, and that's what we have right here. Michigan 6, Missouri 7, West Virginia 8, Ohio State 9, and LSU in number 10. The official college football rankings look a little different than that. Georgia 5, they had Ohio State, Michigan, Washington, and Florida. So what is it about your system that said Florida and Washington not even close to what we're dealing with?
Yeah, well, you know, we've learned throughout the years that it's just, you trust the data as you're looking for it on what you're doing. And even though we might have in our hearts seeing what's going on, we really try to use every game they played the entire season. So I think a lot of times everyone's subject to recency bias. What have you done lately? If someone's done something lately that looks very impressive, you're naturally going to rank them higher. But it may be that game 7 weeks ago that's really pivotal on how good that team is this season.
Now, this is an algorithm that you said you got from MIT. I forget the gentleman's name.
Niven Winchester.
There you go. Okay, this was used for climate change, economic growth, investment growth. And so how did you see a correlation between that and college football?
Well, he does some side projects on sports economics as well, and I'm starting to move in more into that field. And we're trying to come up with a way to really balance the schedules. We were trying to say, man, you know, the schedule Alabama plays is not the schedule Central Florida plays. Yeah. Right, okay? So we've got to find some way to balance this out. And we said, well, we've kind of done some simulation with this other algorithm working on this stuff. Why not apply it to college football and see what happens? So, and it worked out, we think, pretty well. We'll see.
Is there a chance? What's been the reception with this? Could this make its way in front of the actual committee?
I hope so. I'm dubious about it. You know, and especially when you have a team like Notre Dame that, if Notre Dame wins all their games, they're going to get in. It's just what's going to happen. Even on his website, he had a ton of Notre Dame fans just hating on him when we published this saying Notre Dame shouldn't be in there. So they did not like that. The Notre Dame fans were not happy.
So this is what I was going to ask you was the BCS era was the one that everybody complained about, college football fans complained about, because it was all numbers and no eye test. Now the College Football Playoff Committee added the eye test, which is how a lot of people believe Notre Dame got in over Georgia. You say trust the numbers, so where's the rub?
I don't know. And I think this is a human system, so I think people are always going to be upset one way or the other. The team that's on the outside looking in is always going to be upset. You know, I personally am an Ohio State fan, and so I was a little bummed out, but my ranking said they were actually pretty bad, so, which is, well, not pretty bad, but not that great.
Well, like you said, trust the numbers, right?
Yeah, trust the numbers.
Okay, so this, and then one last I want to leave you with, you have studied previous years, and you're starting to look at maybe future years. For college football fans who have watched this, it's very clear that Alabama and Clemson are a big gap above everybody else.
They are, yeah.
Does that maybe, with looking at it from a number standpoint, is that even going to change in the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years?
I don't know. It seems like so much of it's driven by recruiting, and those two schools just recruit better than everyone else. And even in our algorithm, they were almost 2 touchdowns better than everyone else in the field.
Sounds like you're talking about an eye test and not a number test.
Maybe
okay.
it is. Yeah.
Okay. That is Joe Craig, Assistant Economics Professor at UCCS. If you want to go look at the write-up and at his numbers, just go find me on Twitter, KOAA Grant. I got it posted up. And Rob and Elizabeth, we'll have more news after this.